Well, now I didn't play baseball with Ronnie.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I wasn't near in his league on athletics.
Oh.
I have known Ronnie a long time. He graduated in '84 from Northwestern. I graduated in '85, so we were overlapped for about 3 years. Ronnie actually, I think, was going to be a coach and a teacher, and started working for the railroad the year before he got out of school, and has been with them for 30 years ever since. Divisional engineer, Kansas Division, responsible for the Amarillo East. And I'm going to let him give you more information about himself and what he does. Thanks, Ronnie.
Or do I even need
I
this?
need this sort for my video.
You do? You need it on film? Because I kind of speak a little loud anyway. Sorry about that. Again, my name is Ronnie Anderson. I am the division engineer out of Amarillo, Texas for the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. Does everybody know what the BNSF stands for? What's that? Brand New Santa Fe. That's what I'm from the Santa Fe side. So it's a brand new Santa Fe. Okay? It is the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. We merged in 95, somewhere in there. Very good merger. They had a route up north. We had a route south that goes into Los Angeles. They go across, or we now go across Chicago, upper portions of the United States, and then out into Seattle. Then we come up and meet each other there in California. So it was a very good merger for us. Just a little, I got some questions for y'all just to see, kind of break the ice here a little bit. Anybody know what this is called? This line here is called, it's very heavily freight traffic line from Chicago to LA. We call it the Transcon. Does anybody know how many trains we run a day out? A lot. 50. You're a lot closer, yes. At one time when I went to work out here in 1985, this was all single track like it is out here right now. And we ran about 40 trains a day, maybe. And that was a heavy train. That was a heavy train traffic day. We run upwards of 120 trains a day in certain days out here. Between Kansas City and Amarillo, my territory actually goes to Clovis. So between Kansas City and Clovis, there's many times we have around 300 trains a day on that track. So lots of traffic, and that's why we had to double track that, and that's why we're going to talk about that. When in 2006, isn't that when the kind of the bubble, our economy went down? So we had double tracked everything from Wellington, Kansas, all the way up to just north of Kiowa, Kansas. It's a little place called Loader, just on the other side of Capron. And then from about Pampa all the way to Avard, we double tracked. And all of a sudden 2006 came along and everything was south. So as we was building our double track across there, they said, hey, our economy's going crap. Our freight traffic will go down. So we decided that we weren't going to finish that up. So now it's still single track. It's the only portion of single track we have between Mulvane, Kansas, and Grants, New Mexico, somewhere there. So it's the only piece of single track we have, and it's about 20 miles long. So next year we're planning on doing this, and we're going to do it in 3 different phases. Double tracking this track. So our phase 1 is from Loader, which we've already got our switches built there, up to Alva, which is a control point that we're going to have the new overpass out here that when you go north. Right there underneath that is where we're going to come in with the switch. So that'll be double tracked that way. That'll be phase 1. And then our phase 2 is going to be from Avard up to what we call the siding at Knoll, which is the double track that we have that goes around the elevator out here at Knoll. So that will all connect up at Knoll. And I'll kind of describe that a little bit more here just a little while. And then our phase 3 will be connecting those up together, which we have 2 bridges out here, very tall, very expensive bridges here in Alva proper. one that goes over that, what is that, the salt fork? So one that goes over there, that's a very expensive bridge. And then we have one that, right down there by the concrete company, we'll have to build one there also. So that's why the cost is so much right there. That's the part that we're gonna wait until the phase 3. So,
I thought Buffett had a lot of money.
he does, he got a lot of it. But did you hear, what was it? About 2 weeks ago, he lost $2 billion on 2 stocks. $2 billion. Of course, that'd be $200 to me and you. So, yeah, he does real well, and we're very happy that he is our owner. Or in what? What was that again, sir? But yeah, he may be. So, but that's the railroad business is very good right now. UP, BNSF, we've got more traffic than we can carry, and that's why the UPs actually they're taking some of our business because we can't get there on time because we got so much traffic out here. This is part of the reason we're going to do that. So, any questions so far? Did I tell you my name? I'm from. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
3 phases over what time period?
Actually, it's going to be over a 3-year period. We have phase 1 and phase 2 are going to be done by the end of next year. This time next year, we will be done with phase 1 and phase 2. And I'll kind of show you a little bit more of that. Phase 3 is the dirt work that we will do between the 2 connections, and then the 3rd year we'll build the track over the bridges and over the new field. Down at the concrete plant down here, we're buying that land, and we've got to build all that up. So we're going to have, in places, we've got to build up 30 foot of dirt, 30 foot of fill to put our railroad track on top of that. So we have the right grades going across. Yes?
How many people on average do we have in here working at any one time?
We're going to have about 50 people with 3 different gangs. We got what we call a TLM, which is a track laying machine. They'll come in and lay concrete ties and then put the rail on top of it. But it won't have any kind of ballast or rock on top of it. We call our rock that we put on it is called ballast also. So we'll come lay all of that first, and we'll put rock on it. And there's got to be 12 inches of rock underneath that concrete tie, because that's the cushion. Our wood ties, they absorb a lot, so we don't have to have near as much ballast underneath wood ties. But concrete ties are so stiff that you have to have a cushion underneath that. You break everything that you got. Rail, ties, and everything if you did. Did that answer your questions? Yes, sir. Excellent.
How much does that track go on the north side of Apple will be a raised track?
On the north side of Alva, did you say? How much?
Yeah. How long? Wouldn't there one track like right there where the old depot used to be, that's a raised area,
Right.
When you have a track that's raised, one to the north side of Apple?
Yes. Yes. That will all be the same level all the way across it, except it'll be on the south side of that track. So everything's going to be on the south side
Of the existing track.
of the existing track that we have right now. So right there in phase 3, right there at the bridge that goes over the Salt Fork, we're trying to get, if you ever notice where we built the fill on the other side of the river, has anybody noticed that? That was already done. That's the dirt work that you do before you put the track on top of it. So that's all been built up to that bridge. That was where it was going to end at one time. So all of the track this way, from Avard to Knoll, none of that dirt work has been done. So that's all got to be built also. So everything from where we stopped on the other side of the bridge or on the other side of the river, all the way to and through the yard there at Alva, that's all got to be built up. So there's about 3 miles there. And then that way, Avard to Knoll, we probably got 10 miles that we still have to build. dirt work. That's why, that's the phase 2 part of it. Phase 1 has already got the dirt work done. All we got to do is put the track on top of it. And our phase 2, second half of next year, we'll do the dirt work. We're starting it actually in December. We'll have all the dirt work done, and then we'll lay the track the second half of next year, connect it up into the siding at Knoll. So we'll have 2 tracks. Okay, the road crossing out by the park, the road crossing where you go north out by the park, right there, you go over 2 tracks, right?
Yeah.
So that's the siding right now. That will be main 2. Main 1's to the north, main 2 will be the south. Right now, it's a main line and a siding. So a siding track is something we run a train in, we'll run another train around it, right? Then we'll come back out on the other side, and we'll go, then when we get to the double track, then they're doing this. So we don't have a direction of traffic out here, but predominantly you're right-hand road. Right hand going west, left hand or right hand looking east, you're going to be right hand running, right? Just like traffic. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, I'm done. All right. This is loader. Actually, Kiowa's up and around this area. Kiowa is. So here is what we call loader. All these switches are already here. Okay? So the only switch we use right now, because this is main 1 and main 2, this is all single track out here. The only switch we use is this switch right here, because it'll go from main 1 to main 2. When we connect all of this up, all these switches will be used, because we'll start building our track that way, and that'll become main 1. I got to figure out which buttons we got here. Okay, so we're starting at 314. Here's 315. When we first start here, the Capron Road crossing, which is right here, and here's the Capron tracks right here. This road crossing, when we come down through here, will be on the west side of the tracks. Okay. So as we come down through here and building all of this, we'll come through this road crossing. We got another road crossing here. Quite a few more road crossings out here towards what we call the siding at Brink. But we have what we call a line change here, because what we'll do is we'll build the track on the right-hand side all the way down, and then we'll start it on this other side, which will take us to the south side as we go all the way through Alva, right? So when we build this here, get this all set up, we'll cut the track right here. We'll line 1 to one side, and then we'll line this back to this, and we'll connect it up. We'll just have a couple little curves there. So this will be main 1, and then this will be main 2 when it comes back around. We'll also be setting up a elevator track or a set-out track right here by the elevator here at Capron. That way we can set out cars that have bad order wheels, hot journals, air problems, any kind of, even if we have engine problems or something like that. We'll have 2 switches on each end, and then we'll set out cars here to be set out, and it'll be 25 foot away. Then that way, somebody comes and works on that car, they can go out there and work on it and not have to worry about getting hit by a train on the main line, right? Wouldn't be a good outcome. And this right here, this is our elevator track here at Capron. We're going to come in with a switch here. Actually, it'll be quite a bit longer. We'll come in with a switch here, and we're going to build another switch here. That way we have a place to set out cars on both sides. So I'm coming down the track on main 1 this way. I have a problem. I got a car. I can set it out. A bad car. I can set it out right here. So, and I'm coming down the track this way. I have a problem with one of my cars, and I can set it out on this track. Okay. So that's how we build these sites, because what we have is hot box detectors, wild wheel detectors that tell us if you have a bad car. They'll actually shoot a beam to the wheels, and it'll tell them how hot that rail is, or that wheel is. And if it's hot, we'll set them out. Yes, ma'am.
How does a set out on the side where you would set it out if the train was going north. How does that affect rail cars getting in to the elevator to haul out grain?
We would put the cars in this track here, the farthest one away, and that will give them another track to work their cars with.
Okay.
This elevator would only work off of this side, so there will not be any elevator cars that we would serve the elevator with on this side.
I agree. I just was worrying about the interaction.
Is it
co-op and
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, and that's a good question. That's a great question, actually. But it's not our goal to keep the elevator from doing their job.
How often do you have to put one of those set aside to take off that car? Every 100 miles, 50 miles, 20 miles?
Probably I'd say one a day. So every 100 trains, you might have one car that you'd have to set
How
out.
many miles apart are those?
Set out tracks?
Yeah.
We will probably have them about we'll have one here. We'll have another one. So we'll probably have 3 in this section that we're going to be doing, 3 different set out tracks.
It's all the way down the line.
All the way down. All the way down. And that we've got to have a place so we can run traffic at 70 mile an hour, get our best velocity out of our trains. We can't have them out there running 25 trying to get to a location, or even 10 trying to get to a location, keeping all the other traffic back behind us running at 10 mile an hour. But
How do you physically take a car out of the middle? Do you have another engine there that will pull that car in the siding? I'm trying to figure out how that train's going to drop that car off and back up. And hook up the rest of
So we're talking about, let's say we got 120 cars on a train, okay? And let's say
car
number
30.
40
Yeah.
is a bad car. So we would come up here, we'd pull up, and we'd stop clearance point right here at the 40th car. We'd disconnect from that car, pull up, pass that switch, back in, drop it off, come back out, connect up, run our air test, and be gone. So that's how we do that. And each car has got its different air brakes, everything that sets the air. It's all different. It's all capable of doing that in just one car.
For clarification, those little sites you're talking about, that is for BNSF's use. That's not for servicing business, correct?
This one right here for BNSF use, yes. Now this one right here, we will have business in these tracks. We'll have
For the existing
elevator track,
siding.
yes. Now we have times that, for example, like right now in some part of my railroad down south, around the Slayton, Texas area, we have these locations like this, but we're unloading the big wind farm windmills. We're unloading them there. So yes, we can use that for business, but usually they're only 5-6 cars long, just enough to put 2 or 3 cars in there, get it out of a train if it's a bad order car, so they can get back together and run maximum authorized speed, which is 70 mile an hour through this area.
Can the connect, disconnect be just, it's not, no man gets off the train anymore, it's just all happens automatically, or?
Yeah, it's all done by hand.
You have somebody get off, you have to
Oh,
actually
yeah.
have somebody get off the train and disconnect?
We have 2-man crews usually,
Okay.
and a engineer and conductor, and of course the engineer, he never gets off that train. So the conductor, he would go back, this 40th car, right? We're talking about 120 car train.
Yeah.
So this 40th car has a bad order on it. So he'd get off, walk the 40 cars back, cut loose of his train, tie it down, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. That's what happened up in Canada. Everybody remember the tank cars or the fuel cars that set the whole town on fire up there? Well, he didn't set enough hand brakes. Rolls into town, blows up. So he's got certain rules he's got to follow whenever, say he's got 100 cars out here that he's got to tie down and make sure it stays secure. He may have to tie down 12 or 15 cars so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. So he cuts that off and he'll set it in. He'll talk to him on the radio. They'll come back out, and then he'll walk back to the front, and they'll take off. Now, we used to have cabooses, right?
Yeah.
They're a thing of the past. They used to ride the back of the train. They're all on the front end of the train now. And they used to have 5-man crews. They used to have firemen, brakemen, another fireman, and a conductor and an engineer. Now they're down to 2-man crews. And we're thinking about going to 1-man crews. But we got what we call PTC. Positive track control is what it's called. And that's all done by GPS systems. But there's a lot of sensors and stuff out there that has got to be met by the government or by us for the government. And a lot of the railroads aren't ready for that. Oh, really, the BNSF's really the only one that's ready for that. So we're looking at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 before that even comes in effect. Yes, sir.
So with these crews and these pull-offs and new lines, are there any additional measures you have to take post 9/11 for security purposes?
Yes. I can't tell you all of them. I don't know, but I know all I know is yes.
It just seems that it would be difficult to kind of monitor if you go down to a one-man crew. It just seems like one person can't have 2 ways. at the same time.
They're fighting it. I don't know whether or not that'll ever happen. I know it's not going to happen in my career. It's something that's way out there still, and it's a lot of things have got to happen for that. PTC is the biggest part of that, which we're still years away from, and on most railroads still happening. So, but 9/11's had a big deal with, especially with hazardous material type cars, the crude oil type cars. We got different rules with those, how to tie them down. Can you leave the train? No. Engineer, conductor, one of the guys got to stay with the train. So I think we have special police, BNSF police or railroad police that monitor all that stuff too. We have a lot of vandalism in this area too. Anybody realize that? They get on these trains that are stopped, they'll go cut the lock and start junking stuff off of it. You'd be shocked at some of the stuff that we see out there. He'll take a dang tire, and he wants to get off the train, take a tire and pull it up underneath. You hit one of those air hoses and break it loose, the train's gonna stop. He gets off, he's gone. That kind of stuff happens. We know who does that.
I'd like to hear more about the bridges.
The bridges.
Tell us about all that. That's a lot of stuff.
That's not my specialty, but I do know that these 2 bridges here. Oh, can I continue in here when I get to phase 3, and I'll tell you how much it's going. All right, so we're gonna go from loader to. I'm going the wrong way. We're going to actually have this crossover here called Alva. So we're going to run from loader to Alva. That's our phase 1. This dirt work has already been done up to here. Okay, all this dirt work. So all we're doing is laying the track here. This is at an $18.4 million clip. 9 miles of track, $18.4 million. That's no dirt work. That's all track and surfacing, getting it ready for double track. Our phase 2 is on this end. Avard. See, we're going to build these set out tracks. You was asking about set out tracks, somebody was?
Yeah.
So this is going to be our second set of set out tracks. And this is over at Avard. We're going to build us another set of crossovers at Avard. This is where our 2 tracks come together here at Avard. This is where we're going to start building our track on the south side to connect up to the siding at Knoll. This is the Y and the industrial park at Avard, right? This is not my territory, so anything goes on there I don't know about. This actually belongs to a guy out of Springfield, Missouri. He comes all the way to here. So at these signals right here, this way, I don't have anything to do with it. So if anything happens over there, don't call me. So we're going to build all of this, and this is all in connection with the double track. These set out tracks are for these switches going this way. If we have a problem going this way, we'll set these cars out. Same way coming into the double track, we'll set the cars out here. So we got the double track. We just built this leg of the Y here in the last year and a half, something like that, year and a half. So we're going to come out. All this track's going to have like 20-foot track centers, so there'll be 20 foot in between the two tracks. Now I'm going another way. So we'll come down here, we'll go through all these crossings, and we're going to build us another set of crossovers here at Knoll. About every 6 or 7 miles we want to have a set of crossovers. So that way we can run traffic around. This is actually called multiple main tracks. It's called CTC territory. So that means I can run traffic on either track, whichever direction I want to at whatever speed. It's all signaled that way. A lot of railroad that we have out here we call ABS, which is an absolute block system. It's a right-hand running or left-hand running. That's the only track that they can run on. Westbound train, one track. Eastbound trains, the other track. On this kind of track right here, they can go either direction on any track. All they got to do is hit one of these crossovers and line it over, and they can run just as fast on the opposite track as they can. As a matter of fact, we will come in, let's say we have a 55-mile-an-hour train coming down here. He'll set in between this crossover and the other crossover, and then they'll run a 70-mile-an-hour train around him, get back on that other track, and then run all the way to Amarillo ahead of that 55-mile-an-hour track.
He'll pass him?
Oh yeah, he'll pass him.
Wow.
He'll pass him. We have quite a few 70-mile-an-hour trains, but we also have quite a few 55-mile-an-hour trains. They have a certain amount of weight per wheel, and they can't go over 55. And even our empties, they don't have the weight that it needs to have on them. They'll run 55 also. Actually, our faster is our fully loaded cars.
Who sits there and calculates all that stuff?
Oh, it's all Fort Worth. Yeah, it's all calculated, and they know everything that's in these cars, every pound, every ton. They run about 100 million gross tons of traffic across this year. 100 million gross tons on each track. So I mean let's just say that we got 100 million gross tons on each track. So this track up here, which is single track, gets about 175 to 200 million gross tons. So it gets a lot of tonnage. So we're going to have this at Knoll. And then at Knoll, right here, this is our elevator at Knoll. This is our siding now. That's going to turn into Main 2. And then it'll come down here to East Knoll, and it'll come back across. And that's where our phase 2 is going to end. So this way, since we don't have any dirt work done, it's going to cost us $33.6 million. So there's a lot of money going in this right here. And this will all be relayed to new rail. They'll raise the elevation in these curves, raise it to 55, because that's what all of our track, if you see, these are all of our curves up here. This is a lot of curvy rail, so we only run 55 through all these curves. And over the bridge, when we get over the bridge and get into that straight track going towards Brink and towards Capron, we make that curve, then everything picks up to 70 mile an hour out there, because that's all straight out there. So, East Knoll, that's going to be the end of phase 2. So East Knoll, I'm going to answer your question now, sir. So, this is going to be the end of phase 1. This is where Alva's going to be. And then we had the Knoll, East Knoll, which is around 325. So there's about 3 miles there that hasn't been completed, right?
Okay, let me get my bearings here for a minute. East Knoll relative to bridge over the railroad on US 64, is it south or north?
Okay, so East Knoll is, it's west. Okay, so East Knoll, the road that I was talking about at the park, going north over the railroad tracks, that is East Knoll.
That's East Knoll.
Yeah, you look to the right there and you see that switch that takes you from one track.
So you're gonna have to build up where US 64 crosses the railroad right now, where it's double tracked and it's down in that hole, right?
Okay, so US 64 is the one that goes,
Out of Alva due west.
West,
Oh,
west out
west.
of here.
no, that's already double tracked already there.
Okay, so you won't have to do any work.
No.
work or anything there.
No. See, it's all we're going to do is connect up to that track and raise the elevation and the curves. And then that way we can go to, right now it's a 40-mile-an-hour siding.
Okay.
So that's the fastest they run on that. But we're just going to connect up and raise the elevation. That way they can go up to that. And that's right here. So here's the overpass, right? Here's that overpass. So we'll continue on here. We'll relay all of that. And then this will be the curve coming into the track right there where the road is, where you go north.
Yeah.
Over the railroad tracks. You see that switch to the right of it? That's called East Knoll.
Okay.
Okay? At one time, in the 80s, that track went on through up to about where that bridge is. But we had 2 big derailments there in the 80s, and they took that switch out because it was in a curve. The switch was in a curve, and they ended up tearing up a bunch of track. So they took the switch out. So now that all that track that went up to that bridge, that'll all be connected to this. And this is that bridge. See, this is the bridge, the Salt Fork Bridge right here. That's the Salt Fork Bridge. And it's kind of got a curve into it. We came out, built our fillway out here so we could straighten that bridge out. That's why we had to buy the concrete company, because we're going to be so far into their property that we're going to end up having to move them out of there. So but this is phase 3, and just the 3 miles there is going to cost us $20 million. That's because of this bridge right here, and this bridge right here, which is what is that road? 6th Street. That goes up underneath the railroad tracks. And we're going to be about, I'm going to say about 40 foot from the track here. So we'll be about 40 foot from there. So all of these steel buildings that they have right over here, we bought all of those. The concrete company right here, actually it's about right here. We're going to go right through the middle of that property there. I'm not sure where they're moving to, but we bought that property. So our biggest expenditure is these 3 miles. And that's because we got to build all of this fill up, all this dirt up, buy all the property, which we've pretty much already done that, and then build all the track.
So as you go out west of town here, where 64 goes, where the rail goes under 64, that's not yet worked on. That's not double tracked out there.
It's not, well, it's got 2 tracks, but it's not double track.
Okay,
It is a single track with siding.
I knew it had double tracks, but it's not the 2 run.
No.
Yeah.
Not yet. By the end of next year, it will be. This time next year, that'll all be double track. That'll be 2 main
It's
tracks.
double track now, but if you're going to double track again, so what will that mean different as far as rails on the highway?
We will relay the ones on the siding and raise the elevation on it. However, there won't be another track added.
There'll still be 2 rails.
There's still going to be 2. There's still going to be 2 tracks. That is correct. They'll both be good for 55 mile an hour.
Where are you gonna get all the dirt?
That is a good question. You know, when we built all this out here, we had huge little hills, little dirt hills that we took down. I'm not sure where this is all gonna come from. I would imagine it's all gonna be native dirt though. I mean, we've got really good railroad, good subgrade in this part of the country, very good subgrade. So I'd imagine we'll just use native dirt here.
When you build a new bridge across the salt will that be an additional bridge for the other traffic, or will it be a new bridge that handles both?
No, it will be an additional bridge for the new traffic. The other bridge is going to stay there. Once we do the double track, I would imagine we'll probably go in and get rid of that wooden bridge that's there because of the risk that we have burning it down or something like that, because it'll all be new steel and concrete. I don't know how many years that will be, but we will probably go in and get that done. We did that when we did at Winoka, the Cimarron River. We put one of them concrete, then we went in and took all the wood off of the other bridge and put concrete walls on the side of them. So that way if we had a fire or something like that, we wouldn't burn the whole dang thing down.
How about one more question for Ronnie? There'll make a lot of people think that we're careful.
With your long welded rail now, how do you handle the convection and expansion of that, the temperature changes like you just had?
Okay.
Somewhere
We have what we call quarter-mile long strings, which is 1,440 feet. They're welded together out of 80 to 120 foot strings of rail. So they come out in what we call a rail train. They'll actually run that rail through those cars.
Right,
And they'll be a quarter mile long, 1,440 feet long. So you can carry actually about 7 miles of railroad on that quarter mile train that goes down through here. So that quarter mile in the difference in, let's say, about 30 degrees, the length of that will be anywhere from 5 to 6 inches difference.
Where does that go without yanking out your spikes and all that?
Well, it does sometimes. Sometimes it goes like this too. But that's why we have ballast. That rock causes that friction on that ballast, and it'll hold it straight. You'd be shocked about what we call our TNT, which is our target neutral temperature here on the railroad, is 100 degrees. If we have it set up at 100 degrees, it will stay straight up to about 160 degrees. I've never seen any rail hotter than that. I've seen it about 140. I've never seen it at over 160. So it'll stay straight at 160 degrees. The forces that ballast, that friction that it holds, keeps it straight, and the surface on it also. That's what holds it. If you didn't have that rock and that friction holding it, even 10 degrees over 100 degrees, it'd get really wiggly.
But it doesn't ever run down and push it out on the curve.
It can. It has before. We've had what we call track buckle derailments. I mean, a lot of it happens up north because we'll have these cold fronts like we have now. Or even here in this part of the country, we'll go in 20 degrees or something, rail temperature 20 degrees, and it's supposed to be 100. We may add 2 or 3 inches of rail so we can continue to run traffic. And then summertime comes along and it starts pushing and pushing and pushing. And if you don't take it out, that rail that you added out, it'll kink it out right up underneath the train.
Take some out in the summer and winter, physically take it out.
Yeah, they take it out, we torch it out, and then we'll pull it back together and weld it up. We have what we call a butte weld, which is a form weld, and it takes about an hour and a half to make it. It's a mold, and you just pour steel into it. It gets hard just like the rail, and you grind it down just like the profile of the rail.
So basically, you're putting shims in and taking shims out.
Pretty much, yeah.
How often do you have to do that? Whatever mile or 10 miles?
It depends on if it breaks. If you have flaws in the rail, and at this temperature right here, it'll break and it'll pull apart 2 or 3 inches. Well, you have to add that 2 or 3 inches during this time of the year, and we'll even weld it up so it doesn't take that beating. But sooner or later, that 2 or 3 inches has got to come out, or it will do what you're talking about, kick out underneath the train. We have systems in place to keep us from doing that, though. Anything we add, we have a system that tells us where we added our rail.
go take it back out.
So we can go take it back
So
out,
when spring hits,
certain
you're
time
gonna
of the
take
year.
it back out, yeah.
Correct.
Same way.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Why don't we adjourn the meeting and anybody who still wants to inquire?
Oh, no problem. Absolutely.
Thank you all very much for attending. It's been very interesting.